Thunder Strike Back. 7 Counterattack. Author, Wild Wolverine. Lieutenant Goya walked outside the squadron headquarters. It was very late. He saw several Su-30 MKIs starting on the runway. He could recognize that it was the aircraft of the 102nd Squadron. Goya often held the bar in the military cafeteria with the pilots of the 102nd Squadron, and every time he got the upper hand. The 102 Squadron used to be just a reconnaissance aircraft unit. Around 2000, when the last batch of MiG-25s had their lifespans over, they were once disbanded, so their men were always half short in front of the 24 Squadron, even if they were replaced by Su-30, but within the 13th Wing, they are still second line. A few years ago, a unit of the 102nd Squadron was transferred to the Jabwe Air Force Base in Assam, which was a front-line base with poor facilities and no shit. It is said that it is only 75 kilometers away from the Chinese border, and the crew of the 102 Squadron who are still flying in Bareilly are in danger, for fear of being sent to that lonely and remote area. Do they have a mission? Goya asked a technical non-commissioned officer beside him. Yes, the Jaguars covering the 7th Wing, the new enemy report, found a hidden anti-aircraft artillery position in Pakistan. By the way, it is the anti-aircraft artillery position you found. The non-commissioned officer said with a smile, which made Goya with some embarrassment. He remembered that he was almost shot down by the anti-aircraft guns in that position. Lieutenant, we all know your record this afternoon. You killed 2 enemy planes at a time, and they all said that you are going to get the Warrior Will Medal. Now the guys in 102 Squadron are all eager to try, and they all say that our military technology advantage surpasses Pakistan's 10. In 2018, everyone wants to kill more Pakistani planes, maybe so that they don't have to go to the desolate state of Assam. The sergeant said with a grin. I hope you don't take it too lightly, the lieutenant said. His words were not at all selfish. Thinking of the Pakistani pilot who fought against him 6 hours ago, he felt a chill all over his body. I'm afraid there will be no aerial combat at all. They are all scared and afraid to take off. After the sergeant finished speaking, he shook hands with Goya and turned to leave. They must be reminded not to underestimate the enemy, Goya thought to himself, watching the 2 planes taxiing forward one after the other, and then leaving the runway. The 2 planes were about to join the 7th Wing MiG-21 and Jaguar attack opportunities over Chanderga to unplug the anti-aircraft guns ambush ahead. They may have made a mistake, Captain Goya thought. At night, when most planes were unable to fly at low altitudes to evade radar, such a large fleet could easily be spotted by Pakistani mines. The Pakistan Air Force did not fall asleep. A Saab 2000 of the 13th Squadron found a small group of Indian aircraft moving north at a distance of 250 kilometers from the border. He passed the message to the ground command, and then the most powerful 1st 5 Squadron F-16 fighter jets took off to counterattack. Major Ahmed Hassan drove his F-16 fighter jet off the runway at Shorkot Base, heading straight for the course the AWACS pointed. He and his wingmen remained at about 4,000 meters, which was slightly higher than the formation of the Indian Air Force. The data link of the Saab 2000, which has been monitoring targets, is transmitting data to his vertical display on the Indian side of air targets that are still outside the search range of his airborne radar. Rashid, listen, a salvo, only to hit the last 2 lower speed targets, the second lieutenant said to his wingman, and they communicated a bit before they were within range of the missile. A bit. Understood. The wingman responded. On their vertical display, a cluster of electro-optics is moving. This is a group of MiG-21s and 2 Jaguars are moving north. They are still clinging to this border, but they may exceed it at any time. This afternoon, they almost killed Old Sammy. A Su-30 taking off from the deep airfield attacked the old guy, which shows that their tactics have improved. In short, I think the era of Colonel Sammy is over. If the colonel had quit the fighting force knowingly, he would have been a major general. You know, a major general in the air can cause a lot of trouble for the command. Maybe he's really old. But when he was young, that magical time on the Afghan border, the attack is really enviable. He was in 14 Squadron then? Rashid asked. No, I remember the 9th Squadron. The voice of the early warning aircraft on the radio interrupted the pilot's conversation. Captain Falcon, 90 kilometers at 11 o'clock, 2 Su-30 MKIs are approaching. Major Hassan adjusting the vertical display magnification. I saw the 2 Su-30s on the screen, moving on the Indian side of the fleet, obviously doing some kind of nondescript cover. They always keep these baby bumps hidden, Hassan said with a smile. Is it necessary to modify the order of attacks? We may hit them. The wingman asked. No, don't attack long-range super-maneuvering targets. Besides, they haven't crossed the border, so they continue to monitor the Jaguar IS. After a few minutes of tracking, the double-click formation of the F-16, which was close to the speed of sound, was getting closer and closer to the last Jaguar. Major, they've crossed the border and never seemed to find us. Just those MiG-21s. The major said contemptuously. The 2 Jaguars that fell behind the formation have entered the F-16 formation at a distance of 36 kilometers. This is the best attack position of the AIM-120C missile. After the missile is launched, it can almost immediately find the target by its own active radar. Turn on the radar and enter the scan tracking, the major ordered. The 2 planes turned on the radar at the same time. In the ASE ring on the head-up display, several targets appeared at the same time. The radar began to track and measure the distance. The enemy plane still did not have any movement to escape. Track. The captain pressed a few buttons next to the programmable weapons control system, activating 2 medium-range air-to-air missiles under the pylon. The 2 aircraft then each locked onto a Jaguar in single-target tracking mode. Falcon is asking to fire, Hassan said into the radio. After a while, the AWACS allowed them to fire. Colonel Hassan pressed the launch button. Fox 3, launch. It has been launched. The 2 missiles ignited and flew away from the lead plane's pylon, and the wingman also launched 2 missiles. The countdown to turning on the radar on the HUD began immediately. A few seconds later, the major watched the missile radar turn on and successfully captured the target. At the same time, the 2 Jaguars started to lower their altitude in a panic, apparently knowing they were being attacked. The 2 Su-30s in the far northeast began to turn, and then accelerated towards the side. Major, their Su-30 has spotted us, 75 kilometers away, and is still accelerating. Don't worry about them, we'll retreat. Hassan said, making a downward circling motion, turning to the west. I really want to see the results of the attack, Rashid said. Leave it to the early warning aircraft. The voice from the early warning aircraft, Falcon Squad, the enemy plane launched the R-77 missile, 5 o'clock position, 65 kilometers away, the arrival time is estimated to be 2 minutes. Just kidding, they thought it would be able to fight. Hit us. Hassan turned on the afterburner to accelerate the escape. He knew very well that there was no doubt that the other parties attack regardless of the range. Falcon Squad, target number 1 was hit and disappeared in the Hajra Valley. The early warning aircraft sent the first result. Hit. It should be. Falcon Squad, target number 2 has also disappeared, it is crashing. The air surveillance personnel in the early warning aircraft continued. Very good, it seems that my victory has surpassed Colonel Sammy, if you don't count the drone. Hee, Major, you can definitely surpass him. Rashid said. Unfortunately, the victory of Colonel Sammy 24 years ago is irreplaceable. Rashid said. The 2 F-16s flew directly towards Shorkot's base at a speed of Mach 1. The 2 R-77s that followed chased for a while, ran out of fuel and crashed in the desert.